Hello. When I started this channel, I started it primarily as a review site reference for board and card games. It's kind of diverged into all sorts of stuff. We now do food challenges, we do Lego stuff, collectibles, model kits, wargaming, all sorts of things. So today I think we'll return to the original plan, for the moment at least, and have a look at what some consider to be a classic and an awful lot of people hate. Fluxx. This is version 3.0. I believe we're up to 6 now. It's produced by Looney Labs. As you see, this was the 2002 version. The rules are pretty much well explained on the back there, but I will open them up and show you how it works. I expect a lot of people have already played Fluxx in one version or another. This is a basic vanilla, if you like, version, and it's come a long way since. It's split off into lots of licensed ones. You can get Firefly, zombies, what else, Monty Python, all sorts actually. I probably will acquire most of them eventually. But let's have a look at the basics. Here we go. This is the entirety of the rule sheet. And to be honest, most of this isn't even necessary, because everything you need is on here. So this is the basic rule card. It's got a white back, must have black. Just knock the camera around. So you start by shuffling the deck and deal 3 cards to each player. Place this card in the centre of the table. Draw 1, play 1. Draw 1 card per turn. Play 1 card per turn. No hand limit, so you can have as many cards in your hand as you want. No keeper limit, which I'll explain in a moment. Leave this card on the table even when new rules replace it. So let's give this a little shuffle. And let's start a 2-player game. Right. So presumably I'm going to go first. What we've got here, we've got the different types of cards. We've got the keepers, which you play in front of you as war. Action cards like these. Trash a keeper. They're very self-explanatory. Take a keeper from any player and put it in a discard pile. That can include yourself. Go fish. Name a card. If someone has it in the hand, they must give it to you. If no one does, draw a card. In either case, if you've got the card you requested, you get to play it immediately. So, a good thing at this point, this early in the game, because I haven't drawn. Draw 1. Steal a keeper. Well, no one's got any yet, so let's play a keeper war. And there it is. So that will be the end of my turn. So my opponent is going to draw a card, and they've got action cards and keepers and new rules. So if they were to play this, hand limit of 1, any rule you play comes into effect immediately. So if anybody, for this one example, if it's not your turn, if you've got more than 1 card in your hand, you have to discard down to 1. If it is your turn and you've still got actions left to play, or still got cards left to play, you've got to the end of your turn to discard down to 1. But by that time you may have replaced this by, say, hand limit 5, in which case you wouldn't have to get rid of any, but everyone else already will have done. Another action card, draw 3, play 2 of them. Pretty self-explanatory. You put your own deck down, draw 3 cards, play 2 of them, discard the other one. But it makes sense to play a keeper, so I'll play his up there. So back to me, draw 1. Again, new rule, first play random. So on your go, if this was the rule in play, you'd have to shuffle your cards, whoops, offer them to another player to choose, and they would play whatever. You've got to play that card, and you don't have any choice. So if this was in play at the stage where it's draw 1, play 1, then you have very little control. You draw a card and then you play one of them at random, up until such a point at which somebody randomly would play a card that would overwrite this, or would allow you to play more cards past your first. And so it goes on. So what's the aim? Well, you have these goal cards, and these are the aim. At any one point, unless you've changed the rules to say otherwise, one goal can be in play. So at this point, got rocket science. The player who has both the rocket and the brain on the table would win. So if that got played in your turn or someone else's turn, if you had that and that, or this was already in play and you managed to put those out, then at that point you would have won the game. And goals are very similar. There's a few odd ones like have 5 keepers in play, but mostly it's a set, and they make some kind of sense. It's fine some. The brain, no TV. If you've got the brain in front of you and I think nobody has a TV. Yep, no one has a TV, then you would win, and so on. So there's lots of keepers, lots of goals. There we go. That makes a bit more sense. Night and day, moon and sun, you would win. So at any time, and in fact all the time, the rules are going to change, and around it goes. And this, to me, is a lot of fun. I like that you never quite know what you're going to have coming up. Sometimes you can win in one turn. It is possible. If you, for example, had Love is All You Need card, which means is a goal that love literally is the only card you need to win the game, as long as you didn't have any others, and say play 2 or 3 and you had the heart for love, then you could win in one go. So this, I think, is the problem a lot of people have with it. It's too random for some people, but there are strategies. People tell you there aren't, but there really are, because you try and keep sets together when you know the deck quite well, know what the goals are. So, for example, you might know that bread and cookies go together, and cookies and ice cream, I think, is another one. Then if you try and stick to a set of what you're playing as much as possible, then you stand a good chance of a goal coming up that will help you. Or something like this, if that's in play, 10 cards in your hand. If you try and play cards like draw 5, for example, if you played that during your turn and you already had more cards than your opponents, you're in with a good shot of landing that goal. But of course everybody's watching each other's cards, and you can steal cards off each other, you can force discards, you can do all sorts of stuff. And it's deceptively simple. There is one card which is a little bit confusing, which is x equals x plus 1, which means every number written as a number on a card is one more. So play 2 would be play 3, but if it was written as a word it wouldn't, it would still be 2. So there's a lot going on, and this is an early version of the game, and it did get more complicated. But as you can see from the state of this box, because I do look after my games, this has been played an awful lot. And I don't mind randomness. It's not really unfair, because everyone's got the same chance as everybody else of getting decent sets together. I'll stop shuffling them now. And the art's nice enough. It's well produced. It's very good. This version cost about £12. I think it's up to about 15 or 16 now for the newer versions. And they've introduced a new kind of card called a creeper, which if you draw you have to play in front of you, and it tends to be detrimental to you. But that is Fluxx. It's very simple. If you keep it simple, it's complicated if you want it to be. It's fast, it's fun, it can potentially go on for ages, but it tends not to. I think I've got through the whole deck one time. Normally it's about a 10-minute game, if that. And as long as you're not offended by randomness, I have to say, I recommend it. I will be getting the later versions and the earlier versions if I can track them down to see just what is different. But on the whole, if you like fast card games that don't take a huge amount of explanation, but have got a bit more depth than, I don't know, what card games are out there, Uno and the like, then Fluxx would be a good sort of segue game onto the more complex stuff, or it's a good filler in between bigger games if you just want a quick blast or something. So there you go. Recommended. I will be doing more card and board game reviews, and probably do some playthroughs at some point, because I've got a lot to get through. And so if you like that sort of thing, subscribe and like if you like, and I'll see you again. Goodbye.